Hello, and welcome to 20 Minutes with Jesus. Take a slow breath. Let your heart settle again. You don't need to rush back into anything. This is a moment to restart gently. Let's begin. There are seasons when motivation quietly disappears. You still believe in God. You still desire to walk with Him. But the emotional drive that once energized your faith feels distant. Prayer feels heavier. Discipline feels harder. And everything that once flowed naturally now requires intention. This can be confusing. Many people assume that motivation is a sign of spiritual health. When motivation is high, faith feels alive. When motivation is low, faith feels threatened. But motivation and faith are not the same thing. Motivation is emotional. Faith is relational. Faith can remain even when motivation fades. Low motivation does not mean you are drifting away from God. It often means you are moving into a more mature season of faith, one that is no longer sustained by emotion, but by choice. This transition feels uncomfortable because it removes the internal rewards we often associate with spiritual life. Motivation gives energy, faith gives direction. When motivation is present, obedience feels easier. When it fades, obedience becomes quieter and more intentional. And this is where many people begin to doubt themselves. They assume something is wrong because faith no longer feels inspiring. But God is not alarmed by low motivation. He understands that emotions fluctuate. He knows that the human heart does not operate at the same intensity every day. God never designed faith to depend on how inspired you feel. He designed it to depend on trust. Low motivation often follows seasons of perseverance. After waiting, after holding on, after choosing faith repeatedly when it was hard, the heart grows tired, not rebellious, just fatigued. And God does not respond to this fatigue with disappointment. He responds with patience. In these seasons, faith becomes less about feeling and more about remaining. Remaining in prayer, even when prayer feels simple. Remaining in obedience, even when enthusiasm is absent. Remaining close, even when emotions are quiet. This kind of faith is not visible or dramatic, but it is deeply valued by God. Staying faithful when motivation is low requires redefining what faithfulness looks like. Faithfulness is not doing more. It is continuing. It is showing up without applause, choosing trust without emotion, walking with God without inner excitement. God honors this kind of faith because it is honest. It does not pretend to feel what it does not feel. It simply remains. Low motivation also exposes unrealistic expectations about spirituality. Many believers expect faith to always feel meaningful, energizing, or emotionally rewarding. When it doesn't, they feel guilty or inadequate. But God never promised constant inspiration. He promised His presence. And His presence does not depend on your motivation. God walks with you when prayer feels powerful. And He walks with you when prayer feels quiet. He is near when faith feels exciting. And He is near when faith feels ordinary. If motivation is low right now, do not withdraw. Do not assume distance. This season is not an invitation to quit. It is an invitation to learn a deeper kind of faith. A faith that remains without relying on emotion. A faith that trusts without needing reinforcement. A faith that walks steadily, even when the heart feels tired. As this episode begins, allow yourself to be honest about where you are. You do not need to feel inspired to be faithful. You only need to remain willing. And God meets willingness with grace. When motivation is low, many people immediately try to fix it. They search for something to reignite emotion, a new routine, a stronger discipline, a louder encouragement. But God does not always intend to restore motivation quickly. Sometimes, He allows these seasons because He is doing something deeper than renewing feelings. God allows low motivation to reshape the foundation of faith. When motivation is high, faith often moves easily. Prayer feels natural, obedience feels rewarding, trust feels intuitive. But when motivation fades, the heart is forced to confront an important question. Why am I still here? Is faith driven by emotion or by relationship? God allows these seasons because He is separating faith from dependence on feeling inspired. He is teaching the heart how to remain faithful without emotional reinforcement. This is not punishment. It is maturation. Low motivation exposes what faith has been leaning on. If faith weakens when motivation fades, it reveals how much it depended on internal energy. God gently removes this support so that faith can learn to stand on trust alone. This process feels uncomfortable, but it strengthens the heart in ways inspiration never could. God is not silent in these seasons. He is quiet on purpose. Silence slows the heart. It removes spiritual noise. It invites reflection instead of reaction. God often speaks less when He wants the heart to listen more deeply, not with emotion, but with trust. Low motivation also teaches endurance. Endurance is not exciting. It is faithful. God forms endurance when obedience continues without reward, when prayer remains without emotional feedback, when faith stays present without excitement. This endurance builds spiritual strength that will carry faith through future seasons. God knows that emotions cannot sustain long-term faith. Motivation rises and falls. Feelings shift daily. Circumstances change. But faith anchored in God's character remains stable. God also allows low motivation to heal hidden exhaustion. Sometimes motivation disappears because the soul has been carrying too much for too long. Faith has been active, alert, and responsive without rest. God allows motivation to fade so that the heart is forced to slow down and receive care. This is not loss, it is protection. God protects the soul from burnout by reducing internal pressure. When motivation is gone, striving becomes harder. The heart is invited to rest in grace rather than effort. Low motivation also teaches humility. It reminds the heart that faith is not self-produced. You cannot manufacture desire or inspiration. Faith is sustained by God's presence, not by your emotional capacity. This realization deepens dependence and softens the soul. God does not withdraw His love when motivation is low. He does not step back. He does not grow distant. He does not wait for you to feel better. He remains close, steady, patient, and attentive. These seasons teach the heart how to stay without relying on internal reward. They teach faithfulness that is quiet, honest, and deeply rooted. God values this kind of faith because it is real. If you are in a season where motivation feels absent, do not rush to escape it. God may be forming something essential within you, something that will sustain your faith long after emotion returns. As this episode continues, allow yourself to trust that this season is not empty. God is working quietly, intentionally, and lovingly, even now. When motivation is low, faith must learn how to function differently. What once flowed easily now requires intention. This shift can feel discouraging, but it is also where faith becomes stable. Staying faithful in these seasons is not about pushing harder. It is about adjusting posture. Faithfulness during low motivation begins with simplifying expectations. Many people try to maintain the same intensity they had when motivation was high. They expect the same emotional engagement, the same productivity, the same spiritual output. When they cannot meet these expectations, frustration grows. God invites a different approach. Simplify, don't intensify. In seasons of low motivation, faithfulness looks quieter. Prayer becomes honest rather than eloquent. Obedience becomes practical rather than ambitious. Trust becomes steady rather than enthusiastic. This simplicity protects faith from collapse. Staying faithful also means redefining what obedience looks like. Obedience is not doing everything. It is doing the next right thing. One prayer instead of many. One choice of trust instead of constant effort. One act of obedience instead of overwhelming discipline. God honors small faithfulness deeply. He sees consistency even when it feels unimpressive. Quiet obedience builds endurance. It keeps faith alive without exhausting the soul. Another key to staying faithful is allowing faith to exist without emotional reward. Low motivation exposes how much we expect faith to feel good. When it doesn't, we assume something is wrong. But faith is not sustained by reward. It is sustained by relationship. God does not withdraw when faith feels dry. He remains present. Staying faithful means choosing to remain close even when nothing feels rewarding. This kind of closeness is not driven by excitement, but by trust. It teaches the heart that God is worthy of faith even when emotions are quiet. Staying faithful also requires gentleness with yourself. Harsh self-talk drains faith. Self-criticism increases fatigue. Comparison steals peace. God does not motivate through condemnation. He leads through grace. When motivation is low, gentleness becomes essential. God allows you to move slowly without shame. He values honesty more than performance. Faithfulness grows best in kindness. Another practical way to stay faithful is anchoring faith in rhythm rather than feeling. Feelings fluctuate daily. Rhythms provide stability. Simple rhythms, a short prayer in the morning, a moment of gratitude, a quiet check-in with God, sustain faith without demanding motivation. These rhythms carry faith forward when energy is low. God works through repetition, not repetitive striving, but faithful rhythm. Staying faithful also means resisting the urge to withdraw. Low motivation often tempts isolation. You want to disengage, to stop praying, to step back emotionally. But withdrawing increases distance. Staying present, even quietly, keeps faith alive. Presence matters more than intensity. Even sitting with God without words is faith. Even choosing not to walk away is obedience. God honors the decision to remain. Finally, staying faithful means trusting that motivation will return, but not making it a requirement. Faith does not pause until motivation comes back. It walks through the season without it. God knows when to restore emotion. He knows when to bring renewal. But faith that learns to stay without motivation becomes resilient. It no longer depends on inner energy to survive. If motivation is low, this season is not a failure. It is a training ground. God is teaching your faith how to stand without leaning on emotion. This faith will not collapse when future seasons feel uncertain. You are not doing this wrong. You are learning how to remain, and remaining, even quietly, is deeply faithful. There is a quiet courage required to stay faithful when nothing inside you feels energized. This courage does not look impressive, but it is deeply forming. Every time you choose to remain, to pray simply, to trust silently, to keep walking without enthusiasm, something strong is being built within you. God values this hidden faith. This kind of faith is not visible to others. It does not create stories or testimonies quickly, but it creates stability. It strengthens the inner life. It prepares the heart for future seasons that will require endurance rather than excitement. Staying faithful when motivation is low also teaches discernment. You learn the difference between emotional desire and spiritual commitment. You learn that obedience can exist without emotional reinforcement. Over time, this awareness brings freedom. Faith stops depending on how you feel and starts depending on who God is. God does not overlook these quiet moments. Every small act of faithfulness matters. Every choice to remain matters. Every day you continue, even tired, matters. This season is shaping a faith that will not collapse when emotions fluctuate. It is forming a trust that is steady, grounded, and resilient. If you feel unseen in your faith right now, remember this: God sees deeply. He honors faith that remains when there is no internal reward, and He is pleased with your willingness to stay. What you are building now will support you later. Quiet faith becomes strong faith, and strong faith endures. Let's pray together. God, we come before you honestly today. Not strong, not energized, not overflowing with motivation. We come as we are. You see our hearts in this season. You know the tiredness we don't always explain. You understand the moments when faith feels quieter and desire feels weaker, and still, you remain close. Thank you for not measuring our faith by emotion. Thank you for staying when motivation fades. Thank you for walking with us even when our steps feel slow. God, we bring you our low motivation without shame. We release the guilt we've carried for not feeling more inspired, more disciplined, or more passionate. Teach us that faithfulness is not about how we feel, but about where we remain. Help us stay in trust when feelings fluctuate. Stay in prayer when words feel few. Stay close when effort feels heavy. God, remind us that choosing you quietly is still choosing you fully. We ask you to calm our inner world. Silence the voices that tell us we are failing or falling behind. Replace self-criticism with grace. Replace pressure with peace. Let our hearts rest in the truth that you are patient with our process. Teach us how to walk one day at a time. When motivation is low, give us steadiness. When energy is limited, give us grace. When faith feels ordinary, remind us that you are still present. God, help us build rhythms that sustain us, not demanding routines, but gentle practices that keep us connected to you. Simple prayers, quiet moments, honest conversations with you. We surrender our pace to you. We surrender our expectations to you. We surrender our need to feel strong all the time. Strengthen our faith quietly. Let endurance grow where excitement once lived. Let trust deepen where emotion has faded. Shape in us a faith that remains steady, honest, and rooted in you. Thank you for never leaving us in low seasons. Thank you for valuing faithfulness over feeling. Thank you for walking with us, even when the path feels slow. We choose to remain. We choose to trust. We choose to walk with you, gently and faithfully. Amen. As we come to the end of this moment together, remember this: faith does not disappear when motivation fades. It simply learns how to stand on something deeper. What you are living right now is not a loss. It is a strengthening. You do not need to feel inspired to remain faithful. You do not need strong emotion to stay close to God. The quiet decision to remain, even when your heart feels tired, is deeply meaningful. If your faith feels simple right now, let it be simple. God is not asking for more than you can give. He honors honesty. He honors consistency. He honors the heart that stays. As you return to your day, carry peace with you. Do not measure yourself by how motivated you feel. Measure yourself by where you remain. And you are remaining with God. If this time spoke to your heart, continue this walk with Him. Not in pressure, but in trust. Not in intensity, but in faithfulness. May your heart stay steady. May your faith remain rooted. And may you remember that God is close, even in quiet seasons. As you step away from this moment, allow yourself to carry gentleness into your day. There is no need to force faith to feel strong. God is not asking you to perform. He is inviting you to continue, quietly, honestly, and without pressure. Remaining does not mean everything suddenly feels easy. Some days will still feel heavy. Some moments will still feel ordinary. But faith that remains learns how to walk without constant reinforcement. It trusts God's presence even when nothing feels dramatic. If motivation is low tomorrow, return to trust. If faith feels quiet, return to closeness. If energy feels limited, return to grace. You are not failing in these moments. You are learning how to walk with God in a way that will sustain you for years, not just for seasons. This kind of faith does not fade quickly. It grows steadily. God is faithful to meet you again, not only in moments of renewal, but in the quiet continuation of everyday life. And as you remain with Him, He remains with you, strengthening your heart in ways you may not immediately notice. Let this truth settle. Staying with God is always enough. You are not required to feel more. You are not required to do more. You are simply invited to remain, and God honors that deeply.